Okay, hi Facebook Live. This lighting is crazy. Oh my goodness. I just realized that it's getting darker a lot sooner. So I thought I would have a lot more daylight than what I actually have, but I do not. So tonight, as promised last night, I want to talk about a documentary that I have been asked about multiple times since its release. Um, I've been asked for my opinion, my thoughts, my review, whatever, and I haven't felt comfortable giving it, mostly because I hadn't seen the documentary. Now, I will say that I had an idea of of what the documentary was about and what kind of agenda was being promoted through this documentary, but I had never, quite frankly, the idea of it kind of pissed me off to begin with, so I never really, I didn't give it a shot. So last night I decided I would go ahead and watch, and um, I want to discuss it. So tonight we're talking about what the health. Let me know. So again, I'm using a streaming software on my computer, so I can't see comments coming in, but I have you guys pulled up on my iMac behind my MacBook, so maybe I'll be able to see comments coming in that way. So if you see me kind of gazing off, that's what I'm doing. I also took some notes last night during the documentary because there were just so many things that I felt like I needed to touch on and talk about, because, quite frankly, I feel like this documentary, What the Health, is spreading fragmented misinformation. And it really pisses me off for people who are trying to take control of their health, who are trying to take control of their wellness, and trying to do their best to learn. I feel like it's really predatory, what this documentary does, and I want to talk about it. So, if you're not familiar, What the Health is a documentary that paints a particularly dark picture about the role that animal products, meat, dairy, play on contributing to serious disease and degenerative health problems. They also make a pretty agreeable, I would agree with this, a pretty significant connection between Big Pharma and several major leading health organizations, which is kind of leads viewers to believe that our healthcare providers may not necessarily have our best interest at heart. And that's not the bits that I disagree with. Those are not the bits that I disagree with. So what I've done is taken some notes on some of the claims made, and this is all just stuff that I kind of wrote down as I was watching it. Um, so it might be a little bit scattered, but as a fitness and nutrition professional, these are kind of my thoughts. I am in no way claiming to be a top expert, a leading expert in the world of nutrition. I'm not a physician. I'm not a registered dietitian. I am a certified fitness nutrition specialist, so I do have some degree of knowledge. I've also taken the time to learn because I want to teach people the right way to do these things, and I want to present factual knowledge. So let's kind of jump into the claims. So like I said just a few minutes ago, What the Health promotes a vegan agenda. They're promoting a plant-based diet, which in itself is not a bad thing. Incorporating more plant-based foods into your diet is extremely beneficial, and that's not where my problem comes, okay? My problem comes from just a few of the claims that they've made. Like, one of the first things that they claim is that processed meat causes cancer. Okay, let that sit for a minute. Do you know what processed meat is? If you're watching and you know, leave a comment with some items that you know are processed meat. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of processed meat is something like hot dogs or pepperoni. So yes, when we're talking about processed meat like Oscar Mayer or going to Hy-Vee and buying the cheapest pepperoni that you can find, those type of meats make it classifiable as a group 1 carcinogenic, which is what they call these foods in the documentary. And that's, I think, the same type of carcinogenic as cigarettes. Okay, so why are we not talking about the way that these meats are cured? Because that's really the problem. Okay, there is a huge difference between cured meats and uncured meats, and consuming uncured meats, high quality uncured meats, have not been proven to cause cancer. Here's why. When we're talking about cured meats, the modern curing process relies heavily on the use of things that aren't very natural, whereas uncured meats rely on natural curing agents such as salt. There's a big difference between the two of those. So again, when we're talking about curing, the problem really comes from using curing agents such as nitrates, and nitrates themselves are not necessarily a terrible thing, but when they get into your body, they can turn into more damaging compounds in the gut. So that's really where the problem comes into play. And I couldn't believe that they didn't talk about the difference between cured meats and uncured meats. Because when people hear processed meat, I think they're instantly going to assume, well, all meat is processed, so I guess I just shouldn't eat meat. If you're taking somebody who is not familiar with health and nutrition in any way, shape, or form, that's kind of what I would take away from it. And to me, that's a scare tactic, and that's negligent. And to not present all sides of the information is really negligent and really detrimental. So that's claim number 1 that I had a really big problem with. Claim number 2. Carbs don't make you fat. Meat and fat make you fat. This is actually said in the documentary. I'm not a carb hater. I love carbs. I incorporate carbs into my diet. Most of my clients incorporate carbs into their diet per my instruction. Even my husband, who has a little differing, our practices and viewpoints differ slightly, and he's on the lesser side of carb loving, but even he incorporates carbs into his diets, and his clients incorporate carbs into their diets, because there is a healthy balance to be had with carbohydrate intake. A lot of that is dependent on your energy expenditure. If you are a sedentary person, you don't engage in physical activity, you don't need to be consuming as many carbs as an athlete or somebody who's working out 6 days a week, okay? But saying carbs don't make you fat and saying that meat and fat are what make you fat is so inaccurate. Because what happens when you consume carbs in excess? Your muscles in your liver can only store X amount of carbs. What happens when you consume carbohydrates in excess and you exceed those stores within your body? Where do the carbs go? What do they do? Maybe you guys are not familiar, but carbs do turn into sugar, which will lead me to my next point in just a second. So yes, if you're consuming carbs in excess, they will make you fat. Also, why are we not in this documentary talking about the correlation between consuming both a high fat and high carbohydrate diet? Because that also contributes to making you fat, not just meat and fat. You can't tell a person that fat makes you fat, because that's completely inaccurate. There is no scientific evidence to suggest that consuming fat, the right kind of fat, will make you fat. And this is another really misleading thing that they do in the documentary. They don't differentiate between good fat and bad fat, dietary fat. That's another one of my problems with this, okay? So in talking about carbs, I touched on sugar. A claim made by one of the physicians in this documentary, and I know a couple of the physicians are vegans. I don't know if they're practicing vegans or if they're just pro-vegan, whatever. We'll just call them vegans. If I'm wrong, please call me out. One of these physicians flat out said that sugar is not inflammatory. Are you kidding me? That is like scientifically inaccurate. Um, Sugar is one of the most inflammatory things that you can consume. Okay, excessive sugar intake has been widely linked to increased obesity, and we know that increased obesity leads to increased risk for diseases like cancer and increased risk for things like chronic health disease and major coronary events. Sugar um, contributes to metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. Like, to say that sugar is not inflammatory is like, my mind was blown watching this. And I'm texting Jamie the entire time I'm watching it, and I'm like, I don't understand. I feel like somebody's playing a joke on me. How can they have left out so much and misrepresented so much on nutrition? Sugar is inflammatory. Okay, if you eat too much sugar, is just not good in your diet. Sugar is naturally occurring in things like fruit and berries and things like that, but even that should be limited to a degree. And then when we start talking about things like table sugar, you can't tell me, I don't care who you are, you cannot tell me that consuming excessive amounts of something like table sugar is not inflammatory and that it will not wreak havoc on your health later on down the road. Um, just speaking from personal experience, when I go through periods where my diet is extremely clean, extremely rich in whole, nutrient dense foods, and completely absent of processed food, if I were to go for a period like that and then consume something like, I don't know, let's say an ice cream sandwich, I can feel it instantly. My heart starts pounding. My body, usually I will get a headache. These are all inflammatory responses to sugar. They're not normal. Um, so that's another claim that I have a huge problem with. Um, this next one, I wrote out quite a bit on this one, and it's because they claim that eating just one egg a day, can be as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes. I'm just going to be silent for a second and let that sink in, because does that make any sense to you? For those of you who don't know anything about nutrition, can you really believe that consuming 1 egg a day is just as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes a day? Excuse my language, but that's bullshit. Um, the cholesterol in eggs does not impact our LDL, which is bad cholesterol. And when they're talking about this study, what other lifestyle factors were taken into consideration and monitored when they were conducting this study? Was there pre-existing plaque buildup? What other inflammatory foods were these people consuming? How can you specifically pinpoint it to eggs? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Did the participants exercise? These are all really important things to consider that are not even mentioned. And let's not even, okay, actually, let's go there, because this is infuriating to me. They didn't discuss the difference between consuming an egg that has been pastured its whole life, let to freely roam on whatever property it lives on, consuming bugs and grass and things that chickens are meant to consume. They don't discuss that versus the chicken who's laid an egg, the chicken that comes from a confinery where they are literally stacked on top of each other, living in their own fecal matter, dying and not being removed from these horrendous living conditions. There's a difference between an egg that comes from the healthy chicken and the chicken that's basically living in squalor its whole life. Nutritionally, there is a difference. You can even break it down to the micronutrients and talk about the difference there. I mean, and how can we not talk about the fact that pastured chickens are not injected with hormones and antibiotics, while chickens who are confined are being pumped with antibiotics, hormones, they're being fed grain, which, yes, is inflammatory. it's just mind-blowing. And then the last claim that I really want to talk about, because I could keep going, but I know this video is going to get really long as um, is that, and again, this came from another physician in the documentary, and I'm going to say this. I hope I don't regret saying this, but I also thought it was important to note that these people that they were talking to, these physicians, several of them didn't exactly radiate health. They were not the picture of health. So I think it's really interesting. Oh, I have a little, I have a little helper. I think it's really interesting that here they are claiming to be, experts on diet and nutrition, and you're not exactly the picture of health. That was just something else that I noted when I was watching. Anyway, so the next claim is that all protein is made by plants. The amino acid profile between plants and animals is completely different. Okay. Many plant proteins are low in certain amino acids, and are we forgetting that animal proteins are complete proteins, meaning that they contain all of the essential amino acids, and there are 9 of them. They contain all 9 essential amino acids, whereas most plants do not. So if a plant is lacking 1 or more of these essential amino acids, you cannot classify it as a complete protein. So again, this is misinformation. It's inaccurate. And I don't understand how this type of information could have made it into the documentary. Um, I mean, I was just so confused. It doesn't make any sense to me. And if I'm saying anything that registers with you as like, well, wait, that's, what you're saying is not quite true, please leave a comment and tell me otherwise and point me to a source that explains otherwise, a scientific study, something that's evidence-based, not just something that you're pulling out of your ass because, you feel like I'm offending you because you don't eat animals. That's not my problem. Like, I could care less if you do not eat animal-based, you do or do not eat animal-based products, okay? I personally believe that there is a benefit to consuming animal products and dairy, but I also understand and respect that some people choose to follow a more plant-based diet for, personal reasons. There's supporters of, getting rid of animal cruelty. I understand that. I understand for religious reasons, and I respect all of these reasons to not consume animal products. However, you cannot overlook the science and the evidence, which this documentary does completely. Now, I've spent 18 minutes basically bashing this documentary, What the Health. But I would also like to say that there are a couple of positive things that I did take away that I think are really important for people to take note of, and to research further, because I think what this documentary does a good job of is exposing the fact that our health providers, our healthcare providers, don't necessarily always have our best interest in mind. And I say this because this is not a blanket statement. I'm not talking about every health provider, but there are a lot of healthcare providers that, if you get better and you no longer need treatment, there is no money to be made in that. Okay. We have to pay closer attention to the fact that the American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association are in fact profiting from disease. The same diseases that they're claiming to try and prevent and cure. They are literally in cahoots with not only Big Pharma, but with food companies, the same food companies who are selling us shit food, highly processed food, confined meat, fake food, all of this stuff that is contributing to our chronic health problems, to our diseases, our lowered state of overall wellness. So I think this documentary does a really good job at opening the the door for conversation, because it's a difficult conversation to have. You certainly don't want to believe that the person you trust, that you go to for all of your health concerns, may not necessarily be um, giving you the full picture. None of us want to believe that, but it's important to at least entertain the idea so that you can do your own research. You can further your knowledge, and be educated, um, because I don't see the benefit in being blind to that. I don't see it at all. Um, you know, I remember when my brother-in-law, was Jamie's brother, was going through his treatment for brain cancer, and he was given this list of nutritional advice of foods that he should be eating while he was going through chemotherapy, um, and one of the food items on this list was milkshakes. One of the biggest contributing factors to feeding cancer is sugar. Why would you tell somebody who has cancer to consume something like a milkshake, which is so high in sugar? And this advice is coming from medical professionals. You can't tell me that there is not some reason that these people are giving terrible, detrimental advice. So, you have to open your eyes. You have to see that there is a connection between big pharma, major health organizations, and food companies. You have to see that there's a connection. So the documentary does a nice job of kind of opening the door for conversation regarding that. The other thing that I took away, that I am fully aware of, but not everybody is, but exposing the harsh and hazardous living conditions that confined animals raised and bred for human consumption live in. It's horrendous. I guarantee, if you went and saw some of the conditions that the animals that you eat are living in, you would be mortified. You would be sickened. These animals are, like I said about the chickens, they're living in squalor. They're living in environments that are horrifying. And the documentary does a really good job of showing a particular, I think it's a hog confinery. And on this land, when hogs die, they pile them into containers until the containers are full. Then they grind up. I'm sorry, this is going to be really graphic, but it is what it is. It's true. They grind up the hogs. The farmers grind up the hogs and then feed the dead hogs back to the living hogs. The living hogs are in these tiny pens with like holes in the floor where they poop and pee. That is dropped into a hole in the ground that is then not filtered, but it's then carried out into a body of water on the property, and then that water is used to spray back out on crops. Is that not the most disgusting thing that you've ever heard? So you start opening your mind up to, where is my food coming from? How does my food get to what it is when I buy it from the store? That's a good place to start. If you're going to buy a package, the next time you go to buy a package of chicken, I want you to think, okay, where did this come from? What kind of farm did it come from? What kind of living conditions was it in? Was it in a cage? How, we could even take it as far as, how did it die? Because it really is sad, and it really is amazing to me that meat can make it onto the shelf of a grocery store after it's been treated and processed in the way that it has been. So I want you to look at that, and then I want you to also look at pastured meats, because there is a huge difference in the quality of life, in the humane death. There's such a difference between pastured meat and confined meat. So please look at the difference between the two. And that's another really positive takeaway that I got from the documentary. And I will say even though I have the knowledge that I have, watching the documentary did remind me, not to remind, I don't know, I felt more motivated to bulk up my vegetable intake because we all know that consuming more vegetables can only benefit you. I mean, the health benefits of consuming um, raw or cooked vegetables are, you know, immeasurable. The micronutrients are so important. Um, so today I've really like been super mindful of my vegetable intake, and I've done a lot more than what I normally do. Like this morning, I decided I would get up and make green juice. I'm not somebody eating vegetables in bulk. It doesn't sound super appealing to me right now. But I put a lot of vegetables and some other produce into a green juice this morning because I did feel inspired after I watched the documentary, even though I was extremely pissed off. I felt inspired to, you know, put more of an effort into incorporating those things into my diet. So it wasn't all bad, but my advice would be if you're going to watch What the Health, please take what they say with a grain of salt and don't be afraid to do your own research. One of the greatest disservices you can do for yourself is to not research and to just blindly accept what someone tells you. And I tell my clients this all the time. I'm telling you to do A, B, C, D, E, whatever. And I know this to be true, but I want you to always question me if you have questions. I want you to always research what I'm telling you because it's important for you to understand and to understand the science behind it and know that what I'm telling you is backed by evidence. That's what's so important. So always do your own research. Always be open to learning and be open to the possibility that what somebody is presenting to you may not necessarily be the whole truth. It may not necessarily be entirely factual. So do your own research. With that said, that was my review on What the Health. Again, my intent is not to offend vegans or vegetarians or whatever. I get that there are reasons for eliminating animal products from your diet. I get that. But again, I come from a background of fitness nutrition, and I see the benefit of incorporating animal products into your diet. So I feel like um, I wouldn't be fully doing my job if I didn't talk about this. And now I feel like when people ask me about the film, I can speak on it in an educated way. And I actually have several tabs pulled up on my computer right now with things that I personally am interested in learning more about because I don't know a whole lot. I haven't done a lot of research. There are a few doctors on the documentary who I want to research further. And that sort of thing. So I'm always doing my own research, and you should be too. And also, before I end the video, I did want to let you know that enrollment is still open for my 10-week online group coaching program. The deadline for enrollment will close on October 1st. The program begins on October 16th. It's $110 for 10 weeks of group coaching with me. You'll still get individualized work. You'll still get customized programs, both training and nutrition. You're going to get a free ebook. You're going to get a complimentary supplement, that sort of thing. There is a lot that's going with it. And normally 8 weeks of coaching with me is $230. So the fact that you're getting 10 weeks for $110 is kind of sweet. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. You can send me a private message on Facebook. You can send me an email to info@dsmrevolution.com. And that's what I got. Thank you so much to those who came out to Jamie's cooking lesson today. That was really fun. Vivian and I were there, and she helped a little bit, so that was a nice time. Now I'm just rambling, and I have work to do. So thank you guys for watching. If you have seen What the Health and you have feedback, please leave it in the comments below, or if you don't feel like sharing publicly, feel free to send me a private message. But if you haven't seen it, again, take the information that they're presenting you with a grain of salt. Do your own research, and then I would love to hear from you after you watch it. But until next time, have a good night.